Thank you very much. I'm Matt Foot. I'm the co-director of Appeal. We are a small legal charity that fights miscarriages of justice cases, also fights for reform to stop those cases happening in the first place, and alongside that provides holistic support for our clients and their families. Last summer, Andrew Malkinson walked out of the Court of Appeal, his conviction quashed. He spent 17 years in prison for a rape of which he was entirely innocent. The appeal team had spent 5 years on his case, and the reason his conviction was quashed was because that there was new DNA discovered that was related to another man, and also because disclosure had been seized, which completely undermined the very weak ID evidence in his case, which was the only evidence against him. Outside of the court, he said, "I'm left outside this court without an apology, an explanation, jobless, homeless." The impact of his case was enormous. There are 4 inquiries running into his case, including a judge-led inquiry, which will report at the end of the year or next year. Already, before any of those inquiries have reported, there has been change brought about because of his case, an important area of compensation. So no longer does it have this appalling position where a miscarriage of justice victim getting compensation has to pay back the Board of Lodging the pleasure of staying in prison. And also there have been important changes to legal aid, which would allow him, if it comes about, to sue the police as well as getting compensation. There is, however, a compensation scandal in this country, and it relates to something that happened in 2014, a section that was snuck in to a big act, section 1331ZA. You can get some idea of how it was snuck in from that you can only get compensation if the new fact on which your conviction was quashed shows beyond reasonable doubt that you did not commit the offence, completely reversing the burden of proof, a very, very difficult hurdle to overcome. Now, new stats came out on Monday, so I had to change the slides slightly, but they made no difference really to the to the final figure. So from 2016 to 2024, there were 591 applications for compensation from people whose convictions had been quashed. How many were granted? 7%, 39 people out of that. So over 500 people have had their convictions quashed, are said to be innocent, but no longer get compensation because they can't prove that they're innocent. One of those people is Sam Hallam, who I've represented for a very long time. He was convicted when he was 17 of a murder that took place about 5 minutes from where we're sitting. His case was always, I wasn't there. He was convicted again on weak ID evidence. Someone who was looking for someone to blame, someone who didn't say he was there, then said he was there, then said he wasn't there, and the judge put in that evidence. An enormous, wonderful family campaign in Hoxton led to a new police investigation. And that found 14 witnesses who said that Sam Hallam wasn't there, including the intended victim of the attack. It wasn't enough for his personal tragedy. His father, through the stress of all that, who was part of the campaign, committed suicide. So he had, while he was in prison. But that picture is from the 16th of May. And we're in the pub there because he's got bail from the Court of Appeal, and his conviction was quashed the following day. This is him today, 20 years on from when he was convicted, and he hasn't had a single penny. He's left destitute. He hadn't been to a court before he was giving evidence in a murder trial at the Old Bailey. He's now been to all the courts you can be with his case at the ECHR last year, which we're waiting for judgment probably later this year. The Appeal will campaign for the 93% who don't get compensation. We need to abolish this test, which is an affront to the presumption of innocence. And we also need to get rid of the cap in 2006 of how much you can receive, which is woefully out of date. So we're asking for £10,000 for that campaign to help us achieve the following: to bring together victims and raise awareness of their stories, the other Sam Hallams in those 500 plus, to bring the other stories together to show how people are being left destitute. Sorry, the clicker's not. To brief MPs and the media about these cases, because I do not believe in 2014 that was the intended effect, that virtually nobody gets compensation. A social media campaign with a film of these stories to tell the public what's going on. And finally, draft the policy change, because there's a law commission that's looking into appeals as we speak. And I believe that we can win that campaign, because I think we're in such a perverse position. It's the best time to fight for reform on the back of Andrew Malcolmson's case and on the back of what's happening with the post office, that everybody is thinking about these issues and how we treat people when their convictions are quashed. And I'd encourage you to support our campaign. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.